All right, this is Mr. James back with your Lesson 2 vocabulary. I apologize for some of the shadows on my face here. The sun's kind of halfway behind this tree, and so hopefully it'll move soon so my next videos won't have as many shadows going on. But I'm really enjoying the weather out here, so I'm going to go ahead and stay out for now. So we've got 3 new words. The first word is found on page 13, and it is the word verdict. And on page 13 in the text, we see that the text says, "She bent down to scratch him behind the ears and then looked up at the cook for his verdict. 'Sir?' 'Very well, then,' the cook relented, 'but only because we're sailing with the tide.'" And so we know there that Sarah, or Sam, as Sarah is choosing to go by, is waiting to know if she's able to go. So she's waiting on a verdict from the cook, and so the verdict comes from the cook as saying, "Sure, you can come along." And so that sounds like a decision that's being made. And a lot of times when we hear about a verdict, it's in a courtroom, and it's what a judge decides. The judge will give their verdict on a case. Or a jury will give their verdict on whether someone is guilty or not. And so that was the sentence I went with, because that's the most common time that we hear the word verdict being used. So the judge announced his verdict at the end of the trial, meaning the decision that was made about whether the person would be convicted or not, or maybe how far or maybe what the judgment in the case would be. Go ahead and write your own sentence now. Our next word is the word sustenance, and it's a noun, and it's found on page 15 in your text. And it's down kind of towards the bottom of the text. And it says, just one second here, I lost it. In their tiny galley, Sarah, which is the same as kitchen, Sarah and cook did what they could to provide good sustenance for the men. Their rations consisted of salted beef and hardtack, the ship's biscuit, as hard as stone, and dripping in cheese while supplies lasted. So they're talking about sustenance, and then they give some examples of food, and so I'm thinking that sustenance is probably deals with food. And sure enough, it's like nourishment, food or drink. And it also sounds like the word sustain, and things that are food are going to sustain you. They're going to keep you healthy. They're going to give you energy. And so we might be able to use that in a sentence by saying the farmer kept 2 or 3 cows for the sustenance of his family. So in order to feed them, nourish them, sustain them, keep them alive. So any type of food or drink that's going to nourish people, keep them going, keep them alive, that would be considered sustenance. Go ahead and write your own sentence now. And our last word is the word treaty, and it's a noun found on page 17. And in the text it says, "Nearly a year had passed since we set sail, and our business has not yet even begun. The treaty and the land will be ours, sir," Armitage assured the captain, "all in good time." So they're coming up with a treaty. We don't get a lot of information here about what a treaty might be. Maybe it's something you've heard before when we're talking about people giving someone something or agreeing on something. It's really between nations or between groups of people. There are treaties that are made, and these are like signed agreements. These are things that people are agreeing to do, and so we can sort of forecast or that in the future of this book there might be some sort of an agreement that's signed with the Indians, because you remember that they're headed to India, and we'll just have to see what sort of a treaty that ends up being. And so my sample sentence says the two presidents signed a peace treaty that benefited both countries. So they signed a treaty that was saying that we're going to have peace between our two countries. So that'd be a peaceful treaty. Go ahead and write your own sentence now. And your write in response to reading question says to read paragraphs 3 through 5 on page 20. So on page 20, find paragraph 3 through number 5. That's like the end of that section. And then it says to use details from the text to infer what causes Sarah to realize why Captain Booth has tried to protect her from the journey to India. So when we talk about inferring, we're making an educated guess. So Sarah has realized that Captain Booth is trying to protect her, and we're trying to figure out why that has happened. So you need to make an inference. So use the text to come up with why he has decided to protect her. So make sure you're providing some examples from the text. A topic sentence might be, based on the text, I can infer that Captain Booth has tried to protect Sarah from the journey to India, period. And then for example, and then provide examples from the text that would support your answer. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you're having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again soon.